Hi. Tonight's whiskey review is an obscure whiskey, I think. It's Tomatin. The Tomatin distillery is an old distillery going back to 1897. Back in 1897, there were just two little stills pushing out a bunch of whiskey. Then in 1956, there were two more stills added to it. And then in 1958, two more again. And after that, there was enormous growth in the distillery. In 1958, they put together two more stills. In 1961, it rose to 10 stills. And then I think in 1974, there were 14 stills. And then in 1985, there was a total of, well, not 1985, 1986, they had as many as 23 stills. What was going on? Scotch whiskey enjoyed an enormous boom in popularity during the 20th century, and most of it went to blended Scotch. Blended Scotch just became the drink of choice for a lot of people. Tomatin had some core single malts that were also marketed at the time and also appeared with independent bottlers. Not very well regarded and maybe not the greatest stuff in those days. However, in the last few years, Tomatin has undergone new ownership. Well, actually, back in 1985, when the Scotch whiskey industry kind of had a crash, there was a glut on the market, distilleries were closing. They were bought out by a Japanese firm called Takara, Takara, I think, and they owned whiskey production in Japan and needed some Scotch whiskey to bulk up their Japanese blends. But when they bought Tomatin, they recently, back at least as early as 2014, had released this whiskey, the 14-year-old, which had not been available before. Before that, there was a 15-year-old, there were a few different releases. So they kind of changed the core malt offerings. I had this at a whiskey festival recently and was interested in it because it's a port finish. This whiskey spent about 12 years in ex-bourbon casks and then was moved to age further in port pipes for another 2 years, basically. Depending on what you read. I'm not totally sure. I haven't spoken to the distillery, but it certainly is finished in port pipes, which contributes to a unique flavor. So this whiskey is 46% alcohol by volume, non-chill filtered, no artificial coloring, and priced under $100. Take a little look. It's a pretty handsome bottle, 750 milliliters, which is good. Sometimes Scotch whiskey comes in a 700 milliliter format, so you're getting gypped a little bit. Cork closure. Now I like it neat, this particular one. Although it's 46%, it's very approachable, very enjoyable, neat. Some whiskeys, you need some water. Don't need to add water to this one, as you'll find out. The nose on this whiskey is vanilla, nutmeg. Definitely have some oak. I think of damp leaves in a forest. Cooked apple. It's nice. And a little bit of sea air. It's a Highland malt. And on the palate, it's creamy. You have some dark chocolate. There's some spiciness. Berries, blackberry, black cherry, pecans, and toffee. Quite a bit going on. On the finish, you're left with like a mineral note. It's herbaceous. A little bit of grapefruit pith, blood orange, and apricot. There is a cleansing, clean spring water note to this whiskey. The finish is long. It's mouth-watering. It's good whiskey. It's not an over-the-top port bomb or sherry, heavy sherry like, say, Glenmorangie Quinta Rubin is, which can be almost kind of jammy at times. It is good quality whiskey. I really like it. The competitors for this are Quinta Rubin, 12-year-old by Glenmorangie, Belveny Portwood, 21-year-old, which is far more expensive than this, about 3 times as expensive. And I think if you like sherried whiskey, you're going to like whiskey with a port finish. Certainly this one. So if you like Macallan 12 or the Macallan Core Malts, if you like Glenfarclas, Glendronach, you're going to enjoy the Tomatin. The Tomatin is a real Christmas time drink. It's kind of like fruitcake in a glass. I mean, it's really good stuff. It's delicate, sophisticated port and sherry fusion with oak and apricot, drying on the finish, never jammy. Very good. Highly recommended. So if you see this at the liquor store, Tomatin 14-year-old, under $100, finished in port casks, non-chill filtered, natural color, I want you to buy it. Cheers.